Good morning, my loves. Happy Wednesday. It is 4:30 in the morning here at the lake. So people still have their lights up from the holidays. They will be taking those down soon. I have a feeling the HOA will be growling and grumbling about it in the near future. So today, let me get comfortable. We're talking about, we're kind of expanding on yesterday's topic. I had a lot of DMs about this. When your life becomes a snow globe. I think we're going to do a little series on it. So today we're talking about loss. Now, I'm sure all of us have experienced loss of some type. A loss of a loved one, the loss of a pet, the loss of a job, the loss of a home, having to move, whatever it may be. And that's what we're talking about, because that can take a bigger toll on you than you realize. So let's talk about it. I have lost in my life. My parents are gone. I lost a daughter. I've lost several pets through the years. I'm 65 and I've always had pets until moving to Arizona. I have lost a lot of pets through the years. Let's see what else. A few years ago, before I moved to Arizona, I was dating this lovely gentleman and we had planned a future together. And he had a heart attack at work and died. That was hard. That was tough. And then moving across the country, because you leave behind your friends and a beautiful apartment that I was renting, and it was a luxury apartment. It was great. And it's okay, to move on with your life after a loss. But you have to take time. You have to make time to grieve that loss. I don't care what the loss is. I don't care how silly you feel grieving it. I want you to take a few minutes and to think about it, some alone time, because you might get a little tearful, and that's okay. People will say, it was just my cat. It was just a dog. No, baby, no. Because pets love us unconditionally. They love you whether, you have your makeup on, if you're having a good day, a bad day, no matter what, they adore you. They love you. They accept you for who you are unconditionally. And when that support system is gone, that hits home. My cats. I've had dogs, cats, a pet raccoon. I've had horses through the years. But when I had cancer, I had cats. And at the time, it was Bella and Emmy. And both were rescues. And those two cats got me through the first part of cancer. Bella passed of cancer in the middle of everything. She had kitty lymphoma. And then about, 3 or 4 months later, I got Milo. And he was a kitten. And I needed that kitten energy in my life. And Milo and Emmy saw me the rest of the way through chemo. And I adored them. They were just the light of my life. And when they passed, not at the same time, of course, but Milo had kidney disease and he passed. And Emmy just died of kitty old age. But that took a toll. I adored them. I loved them. They were my fur babies. And I know people don't like that term. I'm sorry, but they were. And I had to take time and grieve that loss. To this day, it's difficult. I'm contemplating getting another pet. And if it's meant to happen, it will happen. But until it does, God's telling me I'm not ready. My heart isn't ready yet, and that's okay. We've all lost relationships. And maybe it's your fault, maybe it's their fault, maybe it's because it just wasn't supposed to happen. You can't make it work. You should not have to fight to save a relationship. No. And it takes two to make it work. You can love someone to the moon and back. Just be totally devoted to them. But unless that's reciprocated, you're kind of wasting your time. Unless they're putting in as much as you're putting in, there's going to be a problem. And as I said yesterday, in any relationship, you grow together, you grow stagnant, or you grow apart. It happens. And it's sad because you enter into this with hopes and dreams and aspirations, and it doesn't work out. You may feel like a failure. You may want to blame the other person. Just accept the fact that it did not work out. You don't have to blame somebody. There doesn't have to be finger pointing. Just accept the fact you tried, it didn't work, let it go. Seriously, but sit back and grieve the loss, because you have lost everything you had hoped and dreamed for. All the aspirations, the vacations, maybe a honeymoon, a wedding, whatever it is, building a family together. And that's gone. That's okay. Grieve the loss. Cry about it. Go over whatever mementos you have. Don't destroy things. There's no reason to be violent or vindictive. It didn't work out. Let it go. It's okay. The right person will come along. They're out there. You have to have faith and patience. Maybe they're going through the very same thing you are. Just give their heart time to heal, your heart time to heal. And when the time is right, God, the universe, whatever, will bring the two of you together. Promise. Losing a job is hard. Whether, you move across the country, whether you just resign from a job, whether you are fired from a job, laid off from a job, it hurts for a lot of reasons. The main one, of course, is financially, because you may be dependent upon that income. Your family may be dependent on that income, and now you're in a panic. Oh my God, what am I going to do? Okay. Understandable, but take an hour or two and sit back and grieve the loss. That you really love this job, that maybe you put your heart and soul into it. Maybe you didn't. Maybe you're glad you're out of there. It wasn't a good fit. It was a toxic work environment. Whatever was going on, just feel whatever you're feeling and be honest about it. Be honest with yourself. If you have an exit interview, a lot of firms have this, a lot of companies. And for those that don't know, an exit interview is one of your last days. They will call you into HR or send you some forms to fill out, and they want to know your thoughts. Now, a lot of people see this as an opportunity to get a bit vengeful and spiteful. Okay, keep in mind, this can come back and bite you in the ass. You may want to use someone there as a reference. In the future, they may change management and you may want to come back. There may come a time where they call you and say, hey, we need you back. What do you think? Do not burn your bridges, okay? Be grown up about it. You can be honest about your feelings and polite about it, but don't be spiteful. I'm not a spiteful person. Yeah, there's no need for that. There really isn't. It's very childish. But grieve the loss. It's okay to grieve the loss. It may have been your fault if you were fired. Be honest with yourself. Were you giving 110%? Were you allowing your personal life to interfere with your professional life? You have to keep those separate. It's one thing to take a call, because we all get calls when we're at work. It's one thing to take a call or check your email, but it's another thing to live on your phone, doing social media or whatever during the day and ignoring your job. So, come on. We have to accept responsibility and accountability for our own actions, inactions, what we should have done and didn't, our attitudes, behaviors, and the consequences. Loss sucks. When you get a terminal diagnosis, when you get a life-changing diagnosis, I don't know if I can put into words how that makes you feel. On one hand, you're kind of numb, like, yeah, no, they're probably wrong. On the other side of that, you're panicking. Oh my God, this can't be happening. It's happening. Listen to everything they're saying. Write it down Ask them to write it down. Because many times your brain kind of gets a deer in the headlights approach to this and you're frozen. Ask them. They will be very understanding, and they will write everything down for you if you ask. Make all the follow-up appointments. Keep all the follow-up appointments. But go home and have a good cry. When I was initially diagnosed with cancer, and I've had cancer more than once, but the last time, the breast cancer, when I was initially diagnosed, I thought, okay, been here, done that. We got this. It's not that big a deal. And I went on chemo. I worked full-time. I was on chemo. Never missed a day of work due to chemo. Sick as a dog. Lost my hair. But I was making it happen. Okay. I was dealing with it. I didn't grieve it, and I should have. However, one of my coworkers, a fellow nurse, said, I want you to get a second opinion. Okay, fine. And I knew this. I knew. Always get a second opinion. Okay, fine. I go and I get the second opinion. And that day is when it hit me hard. I went to see an oncologist, a surgical oncologist, and she said, you need a certain type of scan. Fine. We did the scan. She brought me back in her office, set me down, put her hands on my knees and said, Brenda, the girls, my breasts, they've got to go. They're killing you. They've got to go. We've got to take them. You need a double mastectomy. And it hit me. I immediately went into denial, and I said, I don't have time. I am really busy at work. I just don't have time for this. And she said, fine, then I'm going to write in your chart you don't have time for the appropriate treatment, surgery and treatment, but you will make time to die. Okay, low shot, but it worked. Fine, schedule the surgery. And she did. I went out to my car, and I'm sitting in my car, and I'm shaking. And I see a family walking out that I had been talking to in the waiting room. And she had a very aggressive breast cancer, and she was stage 4. And she wasn't sure if it was back. If it was, they weren't going to treat. She knew it was the end of the line. And she said, but when I come out, if you see me, you'll know, if it's thumbs up or thumbs down. And I saw them walking out in tears. I knew what that meant for them. And I lost it. I cried buckets sitting in my car. Called my best friend. Called Gary, who has cancer. He has multiple myeloma. Gary cried with me. And that's when I decided, I'm getting teary right now thinking about this. That's when I decided, I'm going to survive this because I have to help them. Sorry. I have to find a way to help the families that are going through this deal with this. And who would better understand this than somebody that's surviving it? That was the day I decided this is what I'm doing. This is what I have to do. Made it through all the chemo and the surgeries and all of that. And my doctor did reach out and she said, hey, I've got somebody I want you to talk to. And it started. Just because you're given a really scary diagnosis, you have to separate yourself from that diagnosis. Honey, you are not the diagnosis. As my Uncle Joe used to say, you can have the bear or the bear can have you. I had cancer. Cancer did not have me. I'll be damned if I would let cancer win. That wasn't going to happen. So keep that in mind. Whether it's heart disease, cancer, liver disease, whatever it is, you can have the disease or the disease can have you. Okay? I cannot make that clear enough. Take control. Grieve the loss. If it's heart disease or hypertension, and there's some very serious hypertensive issues out there that people don't realize. Kidney disease, renal disease is horrific. You might have to make lifestyle changes. That's okay. Make them. Grieve the loss of sitting down to those cheesecakes. Grieve the loss of, pizza and beer. That's okay. Because your life is worth it. You're worth it. just remember, you can have the bear can have you. When you lose a child, I know this is going to be a bit long. I'm talking as fast as I can, but I want to get all this in. Losing a child is horrific. There are not words for that. I lost my daughter. She was born premature due to domestic violence, and she died right after birth because the placenta separated from the uterus. And it was horrific. I can't put it into words. And that was almost 47 years ago. 47 years ago next month. And if I stop and think about it, it seems like it happened yesterday. Obviously it didn't. But that loss is there. I did not grieve the loss. I was married. It was a very violent marriage. And he was very abusive. And this happened. And he left. As in, he left the state. My parents, God love them, swooped in when I was in the hospital and said, we got this. You don't worry. You just rest. And I did. They took care of everything. Got out of the hospital, went to their home. And their response, I would want to talk about it. No. Think about something else. Just don't think about it. I can hear my dad, Bryn, just don't think about it. It's not going to bring her back. Just don't think about it. They didn't want me to grieve. I don't think they grieved, and they took it hard. But I needed to grieve that loss. I lost a child. I deserved the right to grieve that loss. She deserved the right, and I named her Claire. She deserved the right to be grieved. So grieve a loss. You deserve that. They deserve that. Many years later, it just all came tumbling down on me one day. And I cried buckets. And it was on Valentine's Day, because it happened on Valentine's Day. And a friend of mine that I had worked with at the time, a very dear friend, had bought balloons on his lunch hour, and we worked together. And he brought them by my office, stepped in, opened my door, stepped in, and let the balloons loose, and just smiled at me and said, Happy Valentine's Day. That was so sweet. But for whatever reason, that triggered something inside me, and it all came flooding back. And I was at work. I closed my office door, and I cried, and I cried, and I cried. I went home, called one of my other besties, and she cried with me, grieving the loss of Claire. It's done a lot for me. I feel closer to her now that I have grieved the loss, and I feel lighter because I got that grief out of my system. I think of her every day. Every Valentine's Day, I struggle Valentine's Day because Valentine's Day is the lit day of love and romance. Well, it's a day I lost my daughter. So it's kind of a bittersweet day for me. But please grieve the loss. Grieve the loss of your parents, the loss of anyone you love, the loss of anything that you love. You deserve to grieve the loss in your way, in your time. Other people may not like how you grieve. Well, you don't have to ask their approval. You do it your way, your time. As long as you don't dive into addiction, as long as you don't become destructive to yourself or to others or to property, you're fine. Grieve the loss. Look at the photos. Listen to the songs. Take their jackets or shirts or their baby clothes and hold them tight. It's okay. You grieve in your way. And know they're always going to live in your heart. They're always going to live in your memory. And in my belief, we all have souls. All living things have a soul. And a soul is energy. Energy never dies. It's always there. The physical body, it shuts down. But the soul lives on forever. They're always with you. So, that's it for today. We will discuss another topic tomorrow of your life in a snow globe. But when your life is in a snow globe because of loss, grieve the loss. It will help settle the snow globe.